How can people better overcome contempt,
You've
resentment?
had John Gottman on your podcast, right?
Not yet. I'm trying to get an intro with him.
Gottman, Julie and John Gottman. I've actually, I've talked to them before. They're phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
They're visionary. They're actually heroes, because any good societies, any strong societies based on strong families, obviously, and strong families require this one element, which is mom and dad loving each other. That's what families have in common, is that two parents who love each other, and they've saved thousands of marriages. Thousands of it's unbelievable. And the number one thing that really jumps out of their research is that they find the marriage killers. So in other words, not what to do right, what to stop doing wrong. That's how you start anything. If you go to the doctor and say, man, I think I drink too much, he's not going to put you on something to treat the trouble with your drinking. He's going to tell you to stop drinking at the very beginning. So that's what they talk about, things to stop doing. And the number one thing gets to the crux of your question, which is to stop treating each other with contempt. Now, there's a whole concept it's actually in the political science literature, but it's a psychological concept called motive attribution asymmetry. You know about this?
Is this why Nazis called Jews vermin?
Yes. So good, nice. Boy, you're good. You really know a lot about this stuff. So motive attribution asymmetry says, I love, but they hate. Right. And so therefore, it's related to the idea that you will, with contempt, you'll call, the Hutus called the Tutsis cockroaches, and the German Nazis called the Jews rats, for example. That's because you can other them in that particular way. But it's based on this idea that I love Germany and they hate Germany. They're the other, and they don't love us. They hate and I love. In an implacable conflict, not just a genocidal situation, but an implacable conflict like a civil war, both sides believe that they love and the other side hates. That's the Middle East. No, I love, it's like I love my people and I love this place, and they just hate us. And both sides think that, and that's based on an error, because both sides can't simultaneously love and hate. And so the central idea behind that is, if you have an implacable conflict that's leading to schism, that you're going to find that error behind it, motive attribution asymmetry. And I'm not trying to sort out world, conflict, but I can sort out a lot of couples going to, and almost all marital disillusion comes from motive attribution asymmetry. So you take a couple that's on their way to divorce court, and he'll be like, no, I still love her, but she hates me. And she'll be like, no, I'm the one who loves. He's the one who acts like he hates. And the reason is because they're behaving in a contemptuous way that says you're worthless, and I do hate you, even though you don't feel that way. It's a John and Julie Gottman, one of their central insights is that we communicate so poorly because we're transmitting hatred when we don't feel it.
Why? Why would that be adaptive?
That it's not clear why it's adaptive, but it certainly is a habit. And so the habit is basically, so he'll look at a couple that he's met just now, talk to them for an hour, and watch them in the laboratory discussing something of great contention. And he'll want to see if they're rolling their eyes, because eye rolling is a real physical manifestation of contempt. Now, contempt is two negative emotions blended together: anger and disgust. Anger is a hot emotion that's not correlated with divorce. Thank God, with my marriage to a Spaniard. Disgust is a response to a pathogen in the insular cortex of the brain, the insula of the brain.
Retreat.
And what it says is, that's a pathogen that might poison you. That's all we had before antibiotics and vaccines, was the insular cortex that gave us a sense of disgust. So that piece of chicken in the back of the fridge that you forgot about, you're like, ugh. Never, 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 never treat another person like a pathogen. This gets us back to the Nazi thing that you talked about before. When you treat somebody like a pathogen, the way that you stimulate the insular cortex in an entire population is by talking about them in terms of disgust to stimulate that part of the brain, as such, making them utterly anathema and worthy of the greatest barbarity.
Justifies mistreatment.
That's exactly right, because it's the same way that you'd throw away, you'd hose off your shoes after stepping in something awful, or you'd throw away something that's rotted in your fridge, or you'd kill somebody who's an actual pathogen in your society by talking about them in this pathogenic way, stimulating this very, very volatile part of the brain. Okay, take those two things and put them together. That's contempt. When you express contempt for somebody, that's interpreted as hatred. And that's what people do when they get into these suboptimal routines in their marriage. And they'll be like, you always say that. Really? Really? Again? Sweetie, really? And she interprets that as, he thinks what I said is worthless. He thinks I'm worthless. And that's what